Good evening, I'm Ashley Banfield. This is Primetime Justice. There is nothing that riles up red-blooded Americans quite like gun rights. But no matter what side of the aisle you sit on, you have got to hand it to Jennifer Wirtz. She's a mother of 3, and she is making it work every day. She goes to work at the Circle K, and she puts up with every kind of nonsense that a convenience store brings in. And sometimes that nonsense is deadly. Like that time last week when a robber came in, held her up at gunpoint. Now, the policy of the store is don't fight back. Just give the scumbag criminals whatever it is they want. But Jennifer Wirtz had enough.
He stepped into the door and pointed the gun at me. I reacted. I grabbed my gun from my pocket, I cocked it, and I shot.
The guy she shot ended up in the hospital, and when he got out, he was taken straight to the local jail. He's facing a laundry list of charges like robbery and assault and a bunch of other felonies, too. But Jennifer, for her heroic act, she was treated to a firing. The company says she didn't follow those rules to not fight back. And when she asked why she didn't, and when she was asked why she didn't, Jennifer could not have been more clear.
I'm sick and tired of being a sitting duck.
Pretty obvious. Sick and tired of being a sitting duck. Officer Tanner Touche is the public information officer for the Albuquerque Police Department. He joins me from Albuquerque. Officer, I've got to ask you your reaction to hearing that this mother of 3 who goes to work, working for the man every day, finds herself on the business end of a gun and fights back with a gun, finds herself fired. Policy or not, how do you feel about that?
I believe that every individual has the absolute right to defend themselves if faced with a deadly threat. And in this case, obviously we ask citizens not to get involved if at all possible, but in the event that their lives are placed in danger, they absolutely can protect themselves.
I mean, I don't think any of us asks to be involved in these kinds of things. They just come up out of nowhere. Bad guys have a way of sneaking up on us and wrecking our lives. So I guess my question to you is this. If there's a policy where you're just supposed to give the guy what he wants, okay, but then you're absolutely terrified you could die, do you think that policy should still hold true? And how do you feel about a company that tells their employees that's their only choice?
I'm not going to delve into the details of corporate policy and what may or may not be right or what I agree with. I will say that Mrs. Wirtz in this situation acted appropriately as far as the law is concerned and is not facing any charges.
Well, amen to that. So she's not going to be charged, thank God. Poor kid's lost her job, though, and she's a mother of 3 mouths to feed. I'm just glad she's alive to be able to conduct these interviews. And let's talk about the guy. The guy you brought in is Ferron Mendez, did a little time in the hospital for the belly wound he got from her gun. What is he like? What do we know about his history? Does he have a past? And tell me a little about his future.
At this point in time, I know that he had no previous arrests in Bernalillo County, which is where Albuquerque resides. As far as other counties inside the state or outside of the state, I'm not too familiar with his criminal history. After he was released from the hospital, he was booked into the county jail on 5 different felony counts, including attempted armed robbery, assault with a deadly weapon, and assault to commit a violent felony.
Officer Touche, those are very serious. He could do some serious hard time for that, couldn't he?
He could, if given the maximum. He absolutely could face some significant jail time.
So I know you weren't there, but I also know you're privy to a lot of reports that I have not seen. So I'm going to ask you to be my eyes and ears a little bit for me in that Circle K. When Jennifer was at work and in the convenience store, my understanding is she was not at the front desk. She was out among sort of the aisles, and he comes in with another guy. Can you take it from there and tell me what you know?
So again, my knowledge is limited in scope. I do know that there were 2 individuals that came in the store, both with masks on, one armed with what appeared to be a realistic firearm. There's no way Mrs. Wirtz would have ever known that it was not real. It turned out to be an airsoft pellet gun. And I believe Mrs. Wirtz saw the threat and acted appropriately by withdrawing her own firearm and shooting the individual. As far as what transpired after, the individuals fled the scene. The Mr. Mendez, who was shot in the stomach, was located just around the corner near a group of storage sheds. He was taken into custody by our officers and then transported immediately to the hospital for medical attention.
So help me walk through this detail here. There's a couple, just sort of, I'm going to fill in the blanks, and you let me know what you know about them. The reports are not only did Jennifer pull that gun out of her own pocket and shoot him in the belly, when he was down, she had the good thinking wherewithal, and by the way, the guts, to approach him and kick that, well, it looked like a weapon to her. It was an airsoft, but she kicked that gun away from him. Did she give you that in the whole report?
Again, I haven't seen her statement from the detective. I've seen the original reports, and like I said, got the 10,000-foot view of the entire incident. I haven't been on the nitty-gritty of the investigation with my robbery detectives, ma'am.
Okay, real quick, do you know anything about the fact that when he did stumble out with the gunshot wound to the belly, he stumbled next door to a restaurant and then called 911 because he needed help?
Yeah, that is correct. Our actual initial dispatch was for a shooting. Individual was in one of our local restaurants. It's just around the corner from the Circle K. Individual had been shot in the stomach. As our officers were en route to that call, they received additional information about the attempted armed robbery at the Circle K next door. We're able to determine that the individual who had shot in the stomach, Mr. Mendez, was in fact our armed robbery suspect. And so our officers were able to locate him and take him into custody as a suspect, not necessarily a victim.
So I'm just getting this all in real time, but this is such a kick in the teeth to think that his 911 call for help for his tummy ache came in before her 911 call saying, I've just been held at gunpoint and had to shoot to defend me and my colleague at the Circle K. Did your officers put it together that the 911 call to help him was actually helping the person identified as the actual the perp in this story?
Yes, ma'am. Like I said, while en route to the call, they were able to put two and two together and realize that their gunshot wound victim was actually an armed robbery suspect.
Where's the other fella, the accomplice? Do we know who he is and where he is?
No, ma'am. We have not located him or identified him yet at this time.
Whoa! What about Ferran Mendez? Is he just staying quiet? I mean, it's been 2 weeks. He spent 2 weeks in the hospital. He hasn't peeped up about who his pal is?
Not to my knowledge, no, ma'am.
I bet that'll change when he starts to be, he starts into discussions with the prosecutors about just how much jail time he could face unless he coughs up a little more information. Real quickly, do you know anything about this, the fact that there's been just a ton of, in your community, people are really coming in on the side of Jennifer here. She's had all sorts of donations to a GoFundMe page. I think it's $71,000, even though they were only asking for $20,000, and that she's had lots of job offers. Do you know anything about that?
I don't have any individual confirmation, but I have heard that one of our local firearms companies in town that has indoor firearms ranges has offered her a job at their shop. That's the only one I've been made aware of. I'm sure there's probably is many more. Well,
she and her 3 kids deserve it. They deserve the help and the goodwill of that community. Officers, stand by for a moment, if you will. I want to bring in defense attorney and CNN legal analyst and HLN legal analyst Joey Jackson, who's with me now. I'm just watching you on the set as you're just like shaking your head.
Yeah.
One thing after detail after detail after detail, and you're as appalled as I am.
I am. You know, there's 2 things, though. The one part of me, as a human, as a person, is just having a discussion about this, feels horrifically bad for her. She defended herself, and as a result of defending yourself, that's the thanks you get, a suspension and then a firing? Are you kidding me? On the other hand, I'm torn because I know what the company's trying to do. This had a good outcome, right? She defended herself, thank goodness, got him in the abdomen, he's hospitalized. But they're trying to prevent, Ashley, the Wild Wild West. The employer shoots, right? The employee shoots, and then the suspect shoots, and before you know it, other people are dead who are innocent bystanders. And so that's what rips me apart with a story like this. I feel for her. I also get the perspective of the company that's trying to avoid bloodshed.
And I hear you. And we asked Circle K for a comment. They are just not going to give us one. I mean, literally just, they didn't even say no comment. They just didn't comment. So we can't tell you the perspective other than what you're
She's got a lot of job offers, though.
She's got a lot of
That's a very good thing.
So the question is, you know, would she do this all over again? And this is what she had to say just to the idea of sort of what she's been through and what it means.
Robberies have been going on like this for the past few weeks. They have done nothing to protect me, and I felt the need to protect myself. We are not to chase, we are not to provoke, we are not to do anything. We just stand there and give them what they want and they leave. What if he would have come in and just shot me just because I wasn't behind the counter?
Okay, Joey, real quick, 10 seconds. Does she have a case against that guy, civil case, or even her employer for letting her go?
I think both and both. The problem with the guy is that he's maybe judgment-proof, doesn't have anything at all. The employer exercises discretion and let her go. So they kind of...
Don't go anywhere, because I need that brilliant mind of yours again,
here.
Professor Jackson.